Hi, we're at OFC 2026. I'm here at the Nokia booth, and I'm talking with Ron Johnson. He is the head of the Optical Networks group at the newly combined Nokia.
That's right. Yeah.
Welcome. Great to talk to you.
Good to see you, Sterling.
Been about, I think, about 1 year since the completion of the acquisition.
Yeah, we closed at the end of February last year.
That's great. I know we do these updates kind of annually. At this point, it's almost an annual tradition. Just getting a feel for where the market is and what you guys see coming down the pike. It's been a very busy cycle, not just for the industry, but for you, your company in particular. We'll get into a moment, but before we get into the specifics on your launch, maybe just step back and as you look at the market as a newly combined company over the past year and looking forward, what do you see? What are you seeing? What are you hearing from customers? And if there's any segmentation across customers, kind of, how are their views and what their needs different?
Sure. I think of our business as three major components: service provider,
Right.
enterprise, and hyperscale. And the great thing about bringing Nokia and Infinera together was that where Nokia had been very successful, Infinera was not, and where Infinera was very successful, Nokia was not. And so combining the two teams together made it very easy. We didn't have to make really product decisions that affected customers. We just had to not duplicate, not build the same exact thing more than once. And that afforded us to provide more focus on building, which is tied to our announcements recently, but more focus around building application-specific, optimized, whether that's power, space, or just particular care-abouts for certain customers, focus that investment on those key areas. So having a larger team where we ended up with duplicates,
Yeah.
is fortunate, and where we didn't have duplicates, it just was fortuitous to be able to address all of those different markets.
Yeah, I must say, as an outsider looking into the company, I did expect there would be a lot of synergies that happened within the group, and it was very encouraging to see that what you said you were going to do as a company, you actually did, and you kept, and you've got a very large group of people working on these products. You have a lot of products, so why don't we just kind of jump right into that? Just kind of walk through. You've announced a lot at this show. Maybe just kind of tick off what's in there.
Yeah, we had an announcement a couple days ago that really announced our whole focus around what happens in the WAN outside the data center. So we announced a number of new DSP developments, which include optimization all the way from tens of kilometers all the way through subsea. And that includes 4 new DSPs, one that's focused on coherent light, one that's focused on ZR+, kind of an extension of where we are today at 800 gig into 1.6 terabit. And then an enhanced version of that if we throw a bit more power, put a bit more space in the die, a few more gates, we can get that much more capability out of it. Destined for some pluggables, but not all pluggables.
Yep.
And embedded. And then a focus around where fiber constraints really are critical, just getting higher spectral efficiency. And that's where customers are really willing to put as much space or as much power as you're willing to commit to it to eke out it the last little bit through the fiber. So 4 new DSPs packaged in multiple different
Right.
creative form factors that enable a toolkit for us to really have a higher level of intimacy with our customers to be able to meet their exact needs for different parts of the network.
The different form factors were interesting to me. For over the years, we've always had the debate, pluggable versus embedded, and we've seen pluggables really come forward, but embedded still exists. But there's also several new different types of options that are in the mix with your new announcements. Maybe kind of talk through those other pieces.
Yep. Yeah, we had, of course, pluggables are going to continue to be critical. We have opportunity now to work with Nokia's routing team to make sure that our forward-looking 1.6, 3.2 terabit pluggables are aligned with where they're investing in the router, making sure that we can have a full fill of those pluggables in the router and accommodate that space and power. But as well, we see a need for these thin transponders,
Yeah.
which for organizations that have a harder line between transport and packet or switching, or situations where they're just at different life cycles. It's really important that we continue to enable transport platforms, and specifically the success that we've seen in both the GX and the 1830 PSS. We have a tremendous amount of focus to enable those with pluggables, enable those with new embedded solutions, allow our customers in the CSP space, for instance, to go after new wins where they want to appeal to the hyperscalers. So we really tried to focus pluggables in those two areas. And then a kind of forming market is that some of our customers are turning up many, many rails day one.
That's crazy, right?
And that, we've made a lot of strides over the last few years in making pluggable solution denser. Now we're focused also on making embedded solutions denser with our full spectrum transponder. That has this simple value proposition that with only a few components, we can completely aggregate a full C+L into a transmission fiber, and that's really the majority of the focus area summarized in what we announced.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot to dig into. There's a lot behind those products. One of the things we're seeing, Nokia, you sell to a broad mix of customers. The huge focus right now in the industry is hyperscaler, and their requirements. We do see those, there used to be similarities, maybe there still are, but there's certainly a lot of divergence between what a hyperscaler is after versus what would serve a traditional telco, and then, there's others in the mix as well, enterprise, and others you serve. How do you, I guess, do you see this divergence? And if so, how do you address those varying requirements going forward?
For sure, divergence. I mean, look at earlier this week, Arista announced the XPO, actually last week they announced the XPO MSA, 12.8 terabits in a pluggable, putting 16 of those on a faceplate of a router and getting 200 terabits. It's certainly divergent. I don't know of any service provider that needs anywhere near that capacity.
No, exactly.
But the evolution of the technology that enabled 800 gig is a phenomenal 400 gig. And 400 gig capacity, I would argue, is still a lot for a typical service provider application.
I definitely agree.
But it has become our lowest cost, simplest way to deploy the network because it goes very far in the network. It's low power, it's low cost. If you take the cost of it of a coherent engine, I don't know how to make a coherent engine cheaper. Whether we're talking about it being 100 gig or 2 terabits, it's that engine that we built at 800 gig is going to be a workhorse for that part of the network for many, many years to come. Now, one thing that's interesting though about service providers is that they also see these massive opportunities with wholesale services or MOFINs.
It's coming, yes.
To the hyperscalers. So in that case, they're leveraging these same technologies that we announced to deliver that in a better way. And this is where thin transponders really can play a unique role. They've all, integrated and operationalized GX, or they've operationalized 1830 PSS. And in those two cases, we're enabling new ways for them to take advantage of those pluggables to deliver those services in a lower cost way that's expected by some of those hyperscale customers.
Okay. Good points. One of the other thing that's coming up around your announcements, the timelines are fairly far off. This is kind of, you've sort of announced this is work that's ongoing, but I think a lot of the stuff is into 2027. Obviously, there's some risk as a company in announcing that, because now you'll be measured by hitting that. What's I guess just what's the reasoning behind it, and what's the value, and why announce at this time?
The reason I'm so comfortable talking about the dates and doing it this far in advance is that these solutions are locked in with our customers. They are fully aware of the dates, they're fully aware of the applications, and their expectations have changed. It's not a matter of, getting out the earliest version of a 2.4 terabit engine as fast as we possibly can just to make a splash in the market. It's releasing that with all of the capabilities that are required, all of the scale that's required. When we did this with 800 gig, for instance, we don't see this gradual growth of capacity over some, quarters or years of time.
Yeah.
Our customers' expectations now are when they commit to a new capability, they want to ramp that immediately.
Yep.
In order to ramp that immediately, it reminds me of the iPhone, right? When Apple announces a new iPhone, they've already invested, years, multiple months of manufacturing into a release date that's going to allow them to launch millions of them right away.
Right.
We have a similar dynamic in the transport space, where when our customers commit to it, they want to commit across the board. That takes it to scale instantaneously. That means we have to be ready, they have to be ready. We have to live within their planning cycles. To me, it's a zero risk commitment.
Right. Yeah, to that, kind of leads into the last topic I wanted to ask you about, which is the supply chain. We're hearing a lot about supply chain constraints, just the ability to, even today, hit the volumes that are being demanded, particularly from the hyperscalers, but it affects everybody who uses these parts. How is Nokia dealing with supply chain shortages and issues, or, and what are you seeing?
Yeah, it's really part of the reason why we even felt compelled to announce some of these solutions this early. We need to get that supply chain focused and ramped in that same time period to hit those kind of volumes that I described. So, the big challenge with the supply chain is not just us being able to be transparent about what we're doing to our suppliers, but our customers also being transparent around where their networks are going. And they realize that they need to do that more and more because they were caught in a position where 800 gig was always going to be a big transition for them, but nobody really predicted how big that transition was going to be and how quick that transition was going to come.
Exactly.
And so we see this in your reports and others' reports, where every quarter they keep ratcheting up.
Swing and a miss, yeah.
The more we can get ahead of that, the more we can provision all the way through the supply chain these capabilities, the better chance we have of meeting the expectations of these customers. So I think it's something that we're getting smarter about. It's something that we're certainly putting dollars behind to assure that the capacity happens. We need the confidence of our customers towards us, and us towards our suppliers, us towards the market, in order to really pull that off.
Right, everybody's going to be aligned with the roadmap. Otherwise, if there's a missing part, things don't ship. Could even be something minor.
Exactly.
And you just can't complete it. Great, I always learn a ton talking to you, Ron. Great to catch up, and very busy booth, so it looks like show's going well for you. Wish you the best for the year.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, great talking to you.
Bye-bye.